What's up, YouTube? It's time for another music pickup video. This video will cover the records and CDs I picked up over the month of pretty much June 2015, with a little overlap into July. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing I can say that this month I did was a couple trips. I did visit Las Vegas, Nevada, and I found some great vinyl there. A lot of awesome stores there that if you have a lot of very deep pockets, you're definitely going to leave with some good stuff. But I tried to temper my finds just to make sure I didn't go broke, and still left with some pretty cool stuff. So Las Vegas has some nice things. Also went to a section of Iowa I'd never been to before, which is Davenport. And Davenport had a pretty cool record store too. So we'll go over the stuff that I got there as well. So we'll kick this off with CD releases I picked up this month. The first thing I got is Teenage Fan Club's Odds and Sods collection called Deep Fried Fan Club. And this was released pretty early in their career, so it doesn't necessarily have a lot of their later B-sides, but it does have some nice alternate versions of some of their early singles like Everything Flows and God Knows It's True. It also has some interesting cover song choices. It does have a cover of the Beatles' Ballad of John and Yoko, which not really one of my favorite Beatles songs, but they actually do a pretty good version of that. It also has Neil Young's Don't Cry No Tears, which is a great Neil Young song, and they did a nice cover of that. So nice to have this. I do have a pretty extensive Teenage Fan Club collection, and just for some reason never bought this, so it's a pretty neat find. One band that I've been talking about a lot in my videos lately is this band, and that is Swerve Driver. And it's basically because I'm trying to go for a full set of their albums. And this was one of the most challenging ones to find. Getting this on vinyl would be unreal, but I don't think it's going to happen considering what it goes for. But this is their third album called Ejector Seat Reservation. And the reason this is so difficult to find is this album was never released in the United States. For some reason, their record label couldn't strike a deal with them, and they only released this in Europe and maybe Japan, I don't know. But very tough to find in the United States. I actually found it at a store in Las Vegas, which surprised me, so I'm very happy to pick this one up. And like I say, if I ever can upgrade this to vinyl, that'd be great, but very nice to find this, at least even in CD form, because this is a very rare album. The last CD I got this month is a collection of Dream Syndicate's career, and they were kind of tied to the Paisley Underground scene in the Los Angeles area in the early 80s. Very psychedelic pop type stuff. I really like the stuff off their earlier albums though, and they got a little bit, I don't know, too 80s produced, I guess, sounding in some of the later stuff. So maybe not the best collection. Definitely the best song on it is kind of their signature song, and that's Tell Me When It's Over, which is also the title of this collection. So definitely check that song out. It's good stuff. All right, so we'll move on to some of the 7-inch vinyl singles I got this month. The first one of these is a band I've loved for a long time, and it's very tough to find some of their early singles. This I believe, is the very first single they put out, and that's a Chicago band called The Ponies. I saw them live several times before they broke up, and they did have some lineup changes. This actually reflects their earliest lineup, but very cool. And it's a song, or a single for their song Wicked City, which was, I believe, I'm not sure if it was on their first album or not, but it's a good song. You can kind of tell how old this is because the band still has a Hotmail address, so I thought that was kind of funny. At the same store, I also picked up another Pony single. This one, I believe, was released in between their first and second albums, but it has an exclusive song on it called Another Wound, which is quite good. Thought this was a neat one to get as well. I just don't see a lot of Pony stuff that outside of their 3 main albums that they put out, so nice to have these. The next single I got is a Jesus and Mary Chain release. This, you would never be able to tell from this cover because it doesn't even say anything about the band on it. But this was part of their last album, which was the album Monkey. And the song that this is promoting is the song Birthday, which is very, very good. The B-side on this is exclusive, so it's a good reason to have it. The other thing that makes this release notable is that it is part of the Sub Pop Singles Club. And if you know anything about Sub Pop Records, their singles club of early 7 inches was very notable, and a lot of very rare classic grunge releases came out on that. They also stopped their singles club for a few years when grunge started to die, and then they brought it back in the late 90s, and this was actually the inaugural release of the second run of Sub Pop Singles Club. So I like to get these whenever I find them, other than I just wanted this because it's Jesus and Mary Chain, but collecting a full run of the Sub Pop Singles Club releases would be ridiculous. It was just a subscription you could sign up for. You get 1 or 2 records a month, and they really mixed up a lot of different artists. Some of the things that are on the Singles Club releases were not necessarily bands that put out albums on Sub Pop, so I thought that was kind of cool too. But yeah, neat to have this. Just kind of stumbled on it, and I always liked the song Birthday, so nice to have this on vinyl. The next single I got is another classic single by the band Pavement, and this is maybe one of their best known songs, Cut Your Hair. Of course I have this on other formats, but I thought it was neat to get the original 7-inch of this. This was released on Matador Records, I believe, in 1994, and it has one exclusive B-side on it, so nice to get this because Pavement stuff is always nice to have in the collection, so thought it was a pretty cool cover as well. I did get one other Jesus and Mary Chain release this month, and this is from the other side of their career. This is actually very early in their career. This is the Some Candy Talking EP, and it is a double 7-inch record. It has, of course, Some Candy Talking on it, and some nice acoustic versions of some of the songs on their classic album, Psycho Candy. So you get a few acoustics versions on this, and some additional songs as well. So very cool 7-inch, double 7-inch collection, and nice piece of Jesus and Mary Chain history here. All right, moving on to 12-inch releases. So the first thing I got was a single by Husker Du, which is, of course, one of my all-time favorite bands. I thought this artwork was very neat on this cover. And this is for the single of Could You Be the One, which was on their final album, Warehouse. One of Bob Mould's best songs, actually, I think, is Husker Du, as far as songs that made, sounded pop radio ready, at least, whether they made a big impact or not. Also has a B-side, which is Every Time. And the interesting thing about that is not on the album, but it is a song written by their bassist, who really didn't get a lot of action on the albums. Pretty much it was the Bob Mould and Grant Hart show as far as what was released on the albums. So interesting that he got to at least put a song on one of the singles. It's not that great, but at least it's here. Thought it was a neat band photo on the back, too. I think it's kind of an outtake from the Warehouse photo shoot. So nice little single here, and I'm very happy to add this to my Husker Du collection. The other thing I got by Husker Du this month was by far the coolest thing I picked up. This doesn't look like much, I understand, but what this is a collection of a live recording that was produced for Spin Radio, which was, I guess, something that was in the mid-'80s on some radio stations, alternative radio stations. And what this is pretty much considered the highest quality recording of a live Husker Du show. There are a lot of really sketchy recordings of live Husker Du shows out there that have been made into bootlegs over and over and over. But this was actually produced for radio play, and the reason this doesn't have much of a cover or anything to it is this was a non-commercial release that was just sent directly to radio DJs for play on radio. And what this is a 2 LP, 1 hour long in length, radio show. Essentially, it's got the live recordings mixed in with some interview footage from the band, and I thought some of that was very cool too, that was thrown in, because there's a point where Bob Mould is talking about how, well, when this was recorded, I think it was about 1985, he said, well, we're 24 now. I can't see us breaking up until we're at least in our 30s. Well, what happened is the band broke up about 2 years after that, so they didn't quite make it till they were in their 30s, but very cool release. The thing that's nice about this, too, is as far as the live recording and the songs that are on it, the set list is fantastic. This was recorded while they were on tour for probably what's their best album, which is Flip Your Wig. But even then, it still had songs that were on their next album, Candy Apple Gray, which just shows how prolific they were and how ahead of the game they were at this point in their career. So the other thing I thought was cool about this, before I move on, is it has some notes from the DJ that played this on his radio station at some point. So this was apparently played on February 6, 1986 by some scribbled DJ initials. So very neat little artifact here. The other thing about this is this has been bootlegged countless times as well, but the bootlegs don't necessarily follow the same set list. A lot of them mix up the recordings and take out the radio banter and things like that. So I thought this was neat to have because this is technically the official version, even though it was never intended for retail sale. I did mention Dream Syndicate a moment ago. I did also pick up their probably their best album and hardest one to find as far as an original pressing. But this is their album, The Days of Wine and Roses. And I was looking for an original pressing of this forever. I finally gave up and just bought this re-release, which came out a couple years ago on the Four Men with Beards label. But the thing that was interesting is no sooner than did I buy this, the next record store I went to had 2 original copies of it. And I kicked myself basically, but I'm just happy to have this in the collection. Like I said, Dream Syndicate's probably best work was the stuff they did early in their career. So this is their most notable album to have. This next release I was also very excited to find. This is a original pressing of a Louisville band called Squirrel Bait. And they are very closely tied with the Husker Du universe. They did open for Husker Du on some tours as well as Dinosaur Jr. This band was very highly underrated in my opinion, but I see how they kind of got overlooked because their entire recorded output was this EP, which was a self-titled EP released in 1985. And then a full-length album released in 1987. So not a whole lot of stuff to track down by them, but these are very good. The other way that a lot of people know this band is several of the members of this band broke into other notable bands, and probably the most memorable of those was the band Slint. I believe at least 2 or 3 members from this band became the band Slint. So this EP was released on Homestead Records, like I said, in 1985. And very good stuff. I mean, very Husker Du-ish, but a little bit different in their sound. Their drums were a little more, I don't know, pounding, I guess, would be one way to put it. But definitely a good album, or a good EP, and I want to track down their full-length album next as well, because it's very good, and I've heard it as well. The other thing about Squirrel Bait is on that full-length, which is not this release, they do a cover of this song, this title song from this album, which is Tape from California by the folk singer Phil Oakes. This is not at all what I typically would purchase. I'm not really into folk music, and I could care less about Bob Dylan, for instance. But Tape from California is different. I consider that kind of a lost psychedelic classic from the late 60s. This album was released in 1968, and Tape from California is probably the best song on the album. Van Dyke Parks played keyboards on it, so it had some nice accompaniment to it, and just a very great song. It's about 6 minutes long, so a lot to take in with the lyrics. You know, there's a lot going on. Very interesting story about Phil Oakes. If you want to read a good Wikipedia entry, kind of read his bio. It's kind of a tragic story, but a lot of twists and turns along the way with his career. He never actually had a hit, and as far as I'm concerned, Tape from California should have been a hit, but I don't know what happened there. So as far as the rest of the album goes, it's got a couple other songs I really liked on it, but some of the rest of it goes back into his more early folk style that was much more spare, didn't have that Baroque pop thing going on that he did with the title track on this. So I was very happy to get this. This is an original pressing from late 60s. The other thing I thought was neat about this is while I was in Iowa, I drove by a mall and I noticed one of the anchor stores was some weird store I'd never heard of called Yonkers. And I guess maybe if you're in Iowa, Yonkers is a big thing, but I've never seen one before. So I thought it was even funnier later in the day when I purchased this, and it had the original price tag from 1968 or thereabouts, and somebody bought it from, guess what, Yonkers. So guess Yonkers has been around a long time, and back in the day they used to sell records, but now it's just a department store. So pretty neat stuff. Like I said, not normally something I would listen to, but I kind of got into this month, so I might check out some more Phil Oakes stuff in the future. This next album is probably the most acclaimed album by the band Sloan. I did see them live this month, past month, and it was an excellent show. They're a Canadian band that's very big in their native land, but not so much in the U.S. And for some reason, they just hadn't played my city in a really long time, so it was kind of an overdue show. They put on a great show, like I said, and when I was leaving, I stopped by the merch table and I noticed they were selling this, which was really interesting because I don't see anything on the internet about this getting repressed. This is, like I said, probably their best known album from 1994. As far as what the fans consider their best album, at least, has probably their best variety of songs. And like I said, I don't know why or when this got re-released, but I was very excited to find it. So original copies of this are incredibly scarce. So yeah, very happy to get this, and it's a great album. I can highly recommend it. The next thing I got is a record I've been looking for quite a while. And this is another Canadian band, actually. This is a Canadian punk band from the late 70s called the Diodes. And this is their first album, which didn't really make a big splash in the US at all, so this is very difficult to find. I don't know about Canada, maybe it was a little more successful, but it does have a cover of Paul Simon's Red Rubber Ball as the first track on it, which is kind of interesting to hear a punk take on that. This doesn't have their most notable song, though, which was on their second album, so I would still like to get that one. But if you want to check out a Diode song that's excellent, definitely check that song out. It's called Tired of Waking Up Tired. And yeah, I'd like to get that one next, but I was very happy to find this because just not a lot of copies of this. And I don't believe it's ever been repressed either. So very nice stuff to find. This next album I've been looking for forever, and this was one of the coolest things I got in Las Vegas. This is the third album by Superdrag, and it is called In the Valley of Dying Stars. Might be my favorite Superdrag album of their 5 albums. And the interesting thing about this one is this is the only one of their albums that was ever released on vinyl in their original run. But it was very low print, so it's very difficult to find today, and has not been repressed, unfortunately. Since then, 2 of their first 2 albums have been recently repressed, which makes me think this one might get the same treatment soon, but it's a little hard to say because they did a lot of jumping from record labels, so record label rights might not permit that. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm very happy to get this, and even if they do repress it, the original pressing is a great quality recording, and I can, again, highly recommend checking this one out. So, very nice stuff to find that. Another band I've been tracking down a lot of stuff by lately is a band from Boston called The Liars, and this is a live recording that was recorded in 1982 of one of their early shows. I don't believe it was put out until the late 80s, though, on vinyl. But it has a kind of an interesting track list. They were known for a lot of cover songs in both their albums and their live shows. So there is kind of a nice mix of that on here. But however, there's not really a whole lot of songs that were on their albums. It's I don't know if some of these were just unique and part of their touring set at the time, but never got recorded or what. But it's a very high action garage rock with a lot of vintage organ included in it. So good stuff. Very cool party record, I guess is what I would say, but I had a good time listening to this. I did not make a lot of progress on my Guided by Voices collection this month, but I did get one release, and that is a side project of Robert Pollard called Lifeguards. And this is kind of his prog side project. And so this is the first album by Lifeguards called Mist King Earth. Has some really good songs on it. It's not maybe fantastic overall, but definitely happy to find it. It's got some nice stuff on it. This was part of the Fading Captain series. It was number 27, and I believe there was, I don't know, about 60 releases in that. So just one of his side labels that he had going for a while. A lot of cool, very limited Fading Captain releases. I don't know the production numbers of this one. Most Fading Captain stuff is either 500 or 1,000 print runs. So either way, it's not going to be an easy one to find, and I was kind of happy I stumbled on this month. The next thing I got is the new record by a band from Wales, I believe, called Joanna Gruesome, and very much enjoyed their first album that came out, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. I haven't even opened this one from shrink wrap, but this is their new album called Peanut Butter. The interesting thing about this is they just released this last month, but since then their lead singer has quit the band, yet the band is still continuing, and they've just announced 2 new people to replace her. So I don't really know how the new incarnation of the band is going to be, but this album was recorded with the original lead singer before they just had their big lineup change. So happy to get this. Definitely want to check it out. Hopefully it's as high energy as the first one. I did order this directly from their record label, Slumberland Records, who put out a lot of great shoegaze records over the years, and they included a lot of free crap in the box. So we'll go over that real quickly. I've got a poster for Peanut Butter. I got a sew-on patch for Joanna Gruesome. Probably won't put it on anything, but neat to have. I got a sticker for peanut butter, and then a sampler CD of some other band I guess they're trying to promote. So nice stuff. Always like getting a lot of freebies from record labels whenever I send off for mail order, so it's always a nice little bonus. Last thing I got this month is the newest album by Swerve Driver. See, I'm still talking about Swerve Driver. And I did pick this up on CD, I believe, last month. But this is kind of expensive on vinyl. It's a double LP. But I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what, I better get that now before it disappears like a lot of their other stuff. I actually got lucky enough to find this used, so I saved a little bit, because it's a little frustrating when somebody puts out a double LP and then the list price is like $30 on it. I just think it's too much. So definitely nice to save a little bit of money on this and add this to the collection. And this definitely stands up with all their work of the 90s, so nice to have them back. I did hear that they are going to be touring near my area later on this year, I guess in the fall. So I plan on checking them out live for the first time, because I've been really into them the last few months, of course. So that pretty much does it for this month. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Take a moment and let me know what pickups you had this month, or you can link me to your own video. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.